Welcome, remote people. We are getting ready to go. It looks like we've only got Matt in at the moment. So,
Hi, Matt.
hi, Matt.
Hi.
All right, so what we've got here is just a basic scene. There isn't anything really in the scene other than the camera, the plane, and a spotlight. Um,
That's all I'm seeing.
you're not seeing the stream yet. Let's see what's going on here. Come on, Googles, catch up. There we go. All right, we're back. So as I said, I have simple setup here in the scene. There's just a main camera, a plane, and a spotlight. Nothing more at the moment. So I have this prefab model, not a prefab, excuse me, because that could be confused. I have this model that is already created that I pulled in from a site. A site that I typically go out to is the freemodels.com or something like that. We can look at that later. I'll show you. It has a ton of game assets like Assassin's Creed. This guy I have here is just from
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead. This is Lee from Walking Dead. I have already fit him with the character rig and everything in Maya, so we can just go ahead and get rolling. And you'll see I have an avatar and everything built. I'm not going to get into much of that right now. We'll save that for a later session. So I'm just going to start by taking my model and getting him out into the scene. So you'll see here we've got Lee here in all his glory, sitting on a nice little boring plane here. So upon clicking Lee, you'll see that we have an animator that's set up. We don't have a controller yet. We've got the avatar, which has all of his configuration items. I'm not going to open up any of that stuff right now. We've just got the basic stuff. We're going to animate physics as well. So don't really need that right now, but that's what we're going to do. So this is my workflow as I work through it. Feel free to build your own workflow. I'm just showing how I get ready. So I've got Lee, and then one of the things we're going to do, obviously we're dealing with walk cycles. So we've got under locomotion. So locomotion setup, when you pull the project out, has basically all of the test scenes and scripts if you wanted to cheat and see everything that we're going to create today. I will use a subset of these scripts to get us through this quicker. I'm not going to go through the full script line by line. So under locomotion setup, locomotion, animations, we've got some animations that are already built. Now these are built using whatever, probably Mudbox, or, I'm sorry, not Mudbox, Maya, or one of the other tools that allow for animation. So these are just your standard FBX files. In them, there'll be multiple clips. So we've got, I'm going to deal with walk forward. I keep looking at the big screen when I have everything in front of me. So we're going to just do simple walk forward animations, and if we have time or someone wants to see more blending, we'll do running or some of those. So we've got this simple walk forward animation here. So in Unity, you'll see, obviously, here's my guy. He's walking. Everything's all fun and dandy. So these clips are already set up. So when you're pulling in the clip, obviously I've selected as a humanoid animation type. Usually when you pull these in, they're set at generic. So we're going to do a humanoid. We're going to create from this model, and we're going to apply. So what that has done, obviously, is set up everything. Now when you build a character in Maya, and I don't want to get too much into Maya, but you assign bones for your character. So these map out to all the bones, and if you follow the standard rigging scheme that's there, you'll have all of these bone structures that will come directly in. Now some of the models you find, just I want to point this out, won't be in a T pose. A lot of them will be just as you see that character there with the arms down in an A pose. So in this, we want to make sure you're dealing with a T pose. So I usually do it, apply it, and I'm ready to go. So that animation is set up. That's the animation we're going to use to move forward.
Why is the default stance always a T-pose?
Um, I don't know. That's a good question. Let's research that. Definitely Google that one. It's kind of a standard when setting
I've
everything
noticed
up.
in like a lot of games when there's some sort of error or graphical glitch, a lot of the NPCs will just go into like random T-pose and start floating around.
Yeah, yeah. It may go back to rigging and painting weights, and when you get into more modeling animations and settings. So when I say painting weights, it's setting the influences. So if I raise my arm, what on my model should move along with that? And if your weights aren't painted right, you get the tearing. That's where the tearing and everything comes in from.
It may be because of the T. Your arm is halfway in its range of motion.
Right, right. So there's probably a ton of reasons why design people choose that, but we can all speculate. Feel free to Google that. I was just always told A pose or T pose, and that's what I've stuck with. Unity wants T pose. So you'll see if you look at the animations in here. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
That's fine. It's not my carpet.
5 seconds already.
5-second rule. Pizza's still good. So looking at the animations here, if you click through, now some of the animation clips could be all combined, and there are instances where you get a bunch of different takes, depending on how you built your animations. So there'll be multiple clips. So if you had to come in here and build your clips out, you could add another clip from whatever to whatever and assign it, and you're good to go. This clip is already done, so I'm not going to go through assigning clips. Down here, these pieces are matching rotations. Let's say if your guy was kind of veering off course, you can adjust that. So obviously your Y, I'm setting that at my feet, so you're seeing this down here. If I was changing that to my center mass, you see it jumps up. So this is all aligning your character in the correct way so that he's not doing anything weird. Your body orientation, and you can see it's kind of giving you, so think about that as like your rotation and everything else. So there's masks here. I won't get into those today either, but there is helpful hints if you want to get through that. Another good spot to look at is the Mecanim tutorial that is online under Unity, and we'll teach it. It will get into masks and all of those items. So okay, so that's our animation that we're going to be using today. So heading back over to Lee, our cool guy, Lee. You see we have an animator, but we don't have a controller. So the controller is what we're going to jump into. I have a new controller that I'm going to create. I'm not going to cheat. And let's call this the Meetup controller. This is the controller that we're going to use to animate our character. So starting with a blank slate, I was reading state at the same time. Starting with a blank slate, you look at any state. So this is basically my character is in any state of animation to build this tree. We're going to start out with, ideally, a new blend tree. And this will be our default state. That's why it's orange in color. And this will be our idle. So obviously your character's sitting. He's not doing anything. This is my default state. So you go ahead and name it idle, but you're going to spell it the correct way. All right? So if we go ahead and head into that, that's foot IK. So if we head into this blend tree, we're looking at my idle state. We don't really want to go into that blend tree. Apologies. We want to go ahead and set the animation for this one. I have an idle. This is just a simple idle animation, which we'll look at here in a second. Double-clicking will show you he's just kind of hanging out, just standing there. He's not doing anything. And this will just completely loop over and over. So that's my idle state. So off of idle state, we'll get into, okay, what do we want to do out of this idle state? We want to walk. So from idle, we'll start walking. So we'll create a new blend tree. And we'll call this guy walking. In walking, obviously, there's a couple different ways we're going to walk. We're going to walk forward, obviously. We're going to walk to the left. We're going to walk to the right. So that's going to be 3 separate animations, which they're all built here. And I'll share with you guys another great site to get all of your motion capture data. There's motion capture data for everything. You could probably dream up. I believe it's Carnegie Mellon or someone like that that has that animation data. And I'll share that with you. I've downloaded the whole animation library. It's not on my laptop, but I use it quite a bit. So we're going to add in our motions. We're going to have 3 motions. And these go, obviously, automate. We want to take off automate the thresholds. We want to set our thresholds from -1, our midpoint, and then to 1. So this gives us our 3 states. We're going to be sending in values and parameters to actually make these animations do things. So out of the box, we're saying these are our motions that we want to do, but not necessarily what are the inputs that are going to make them happen. Okay? So you've got your 3 motions here. It's very easy in Unity. We've got walk forward, turn right. The short, medium, and wide, it really doesn't matter. All these will be in the GitHub project. And if you play those, you can see, hey, my guy's turning. He'll keep walking in a circle because he's turning right. And here's left, which is simply a mirror of the other animation. So as you can see, as you're building clips and you build a guy walking to the left, or whatever, if you want to do it in the other direction, you just click mirror, use the same clip, and you don't have to do 2 animations. Just a good call out. So heading back to our blend tree, we're going to go ahead and pull in our movement to the right, our movement to the left, and of course walking in a straight line, which is for me under walk forward, neutral, face forward. So you'll see. And you can play around with the blends once we have parameters coming in, and you'll see how they change, fluctuate from left to right. All right, so we have a blend tree built, and we'll call this, my cursor plays nicely, walking. So there we go. This is our walking animation blend that really doesn't switch animations yet. Why? Because we don't have any parameters coming in. So the next thing you want to do is you want to head over, create a parameter. We'll call it direction, because obviously direction is what is going to influence my guy walking left and right. So this is already populated with direction on my blend tree because I only had that 1 parameter. But if we have more than 1, you can change those parameters. You can have additional parameters coming in. So let's think in a state of running versus walking. We're going to have another influence, which is speed. So you'd have another parameter. So now that we have that, Unity is nice enough to let us go ahead and make things happen. So there's my guy. He's walking to the right, the value of 1, as you see. Here's my guy walking to the left. Value of -1 is the fullest extent out to the left. Setting it to 0 obviously means he's going to walk in a straight line. So there we go. We've got basic animation blending happening. We're going to go back to the base layer. So look at your layers here. I have a walking layer. Base layer is everything else. So we've got these 2 states. We've got idle. We've got walking. Okay, how do I get from idle to walking? So obviously you want to build a transition between the 2. So you're going to go right-click. You're going to say make a transition. Transition to what? Walking. And then, okay, I'm going to be walking. How do I get out of walking? I don't want to walk anymore. Obviously, you make a transition back to idle. So clicking on...
Does this work in real life?
This does work in real life.
Awesome.
It does.
I've always been walking. I just wanted to not be walking. So I just go idle.
Just go idle.
All
just stand still. So if you look here, you'll see this is your blend that will happen from idle to walking. The time and and when it will happen in the timeline. You can play around with that and adjust it to make your blends look nice if you want to. If you want to tweak them, do any of that kind of stuff. So each one of your transitions has a condition to make it start. So down here is where you're going to want to play. So my condition. If I want to start walking, we don't have a speed parameter, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and say speed. Add a new float, call it speed. I kind of alluded to this earlier anyway. So we're going to say that I start walking anytime my speed is greater than 0.1. That means I'm moving in a direction with a velocity. Okay, and I want to stop walking when my speed is less than 0.1. So I'm sitting at 0. Or in this case, this could be running backwards if we're heading in negative velocity, but let's not worry about that right now. We don't have a walking backwards state. So now we have two states. We have getting into walking and then coming back and landing on idle. We can kind of preview those transitions. I was idle, I started walking. And this is where you can start tweaking your animation and changing things if you didn't like that animation.
On this one, if you scroll down, you have direction or speed.
On this, I just have direction.
Shouldn't that be speed?
Yes, correct. I had the conditions wrong. That's correct. I had it on the other one, but not that transition. Good catch. So there we go. So, and then obviously the returning transition will be from walking to idle. All right. So there we go. So we've got basic animations built. Unity understands what we're trying to do. We know how to make the transitions happen. So now we get into, let's make sure we assign that to Lee. So next you want to go and take that controller and you want to select the controller that you just built. So obviously we're going to go ahead and select our Meetup controller. All right. Now Lee has a controller. He knows the animations that are going to be attached. We have an avatar that we built with all his bone structures, and everything's set and ready to go. So clicking back over, let's look at our scene. If we go ahead and hit play now, as you can see, he's in his idle state. He's sitting there hanging out, chilling. He won't transition into anything because we don't have any inputs. You can hit WASD or any of that. He's not going to do anything because we haven't coded any of that yet. So what's the next thing we need? We want to build a controller in. So for this, we're going to build a character controller. It's a built-in Unity piece. You can build this from scratch. I do for my own games because I have my own type of control movement that I want to do. But doing this will get you there faster. It adds a character controller and a rig, a rigid body and capsule collider and everything all ready for you. So what you're going to need to do is adjust. Obviously, you can see his rigid body and everything there. It's not aligned with his body. So what you're going to want to do is trim it down, raise it up with the height, and move it on the y-axis. I'm sure you guys understand coordinate systems. If you don't, I would read up on them. Bring this guy down. Bring my y down. And you want to kind of cover, well, come on Lee, hang out, hang with me. So if you look at it from the side angle, I've got just above his head and down to his feet. So we can say we're contacting with the ground. When you start coding your game, that's going to be pretty important. So okay, so we've got a controller set up now. We have a character controller. Okay, that's all well and good, but we also need a script to take your controller input and make that movement and everything else and pass those parameters to your animations. So we're going to add a new script. and we're going to call it, I need to call it something different than I already did. And we're not using JavaScript, we're using C#. We're going to call this character motor. So there we go, we have a script. And in character motor, we're going to go ahead and open that guy up. And I'm sure something's opening somewhere. There it is. It's going to open MonoDevelop. I'm using the default Unity, what is it, the latest version that's out now, 4.3, I believe, is what I'm building this in. I'm waiting for MonoDevelop to open. This isn't the fastest computer. I wish it was. All right, so we've got our script. It's starting with the defaults, start and update. Obviously, you know a little bit, hopefully you know a little bit about when these run. Start is for initialization, update is for each frame. Late update is what I use for influencing my animations. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and look back at my script that I built prior to here and kind of run through it with you. So let's click back over to Unity. Let's see where I stored my script. Those aren't my scripts. Yeah, I threw stuff like everywhere. That's not mine either. There we go. I called mine character movement. So taking a look at character movement, and we're going to end up, I'm going to take this from over there and pull it over. All right, so we've got speed and transition time. I'm using this as a constant to kind of smooth out my animations. You lost the meetup?
Yeah, I'm not seeing your Mongo.
You have it tied to that.
Oh, hang on. Let's switch screens here. Thank you, Logan. If I go desktop, it's going to start sharing everything, isn't it?
You can pick a specific window though.
All right, just waiting for the Google Hangout to catch up. Okay, we're up. We're going. So one of the things we'll look here, and I'll break down each one of these. So obviously, this is a script. We're going to need reference to our controller and our animator. Now remember, our animator is the controller that's on Lee, and the controller is what the animator is using on Lee, which contains all of our blend information. I've got some constants here, just speed and transition time for transitions between animations. I've got a boost. I don't know if we're going to get to run tonight. I mean, we can. I was using boost for my transition to make me run faster, so we can go into a run state. So in initialization, we're going ahead and initialing the controller using getComponent. So getComponent references the component that's attached to the game object. Think of the game object as Lee. He is our game object that we're dealing with this script because that's what the script is attached to. So our character controller obviously is the character controller there with our rigid body and everything else. We've got our animator, which is the animator component. So this just grabs a reference to those so we don't have to keep going and finding it every time. I'm freezing. So in our update, so obviously this is called once per frame. This is the built-in is grounded because I'm using Unity's built-in controller, character controller. So if I'm on the ground, I'm going to go ahead and start getting the directional axis. So this is also built in, horizontal and vertical axis. So I'm storing those values as floats, allowing, I keep going the wrong way on Mac, it's the other way on my mouse. So allowing sprint, I'm in Windows all day, I'm a C# developer. So I had this attached at home to a joystick. I didn't bring my joystick. I use a Xbox controller to play around with. So this was adding sprint. We're not going to do sprinting tonight, so we're just going to do the default speed. So I'm taking, obviously, the horizontal and vertical axes to translate into a speed. This is just a quick go-by. You guys can look up the math for that. And then this is just transforming the direction I'm pushing on the screen into an angle in which we're going to move forward. Okay? And then here's the really important part is after we do our little math computations with vectors, we go ahead and send in those variables. So these are obviously the parameters that we set up on the blend tree, speed and direction. So we're going to send those in, and that's it. Feel free to look into vector math if you guys want to follow up with that more. So clicking back to Unity, we've got a little control scheme going on here. So we're going to go ahead and attach it to Lee. You guys saw how to create a new one. I'm just going to use my one that I already have done. So there we go. We have character movement. Now, obviously, I had that boost set as a public variable, so I can play around with how much boost I want in the editor window. So if I want to run super fast or whatever the case may be, I can play around with it and tweak. So remember, public variables will be available at the editor, private ones will not. It's also key to mention that these public variables are able to be accessed from other scripts as well. So let's think in the terms of an inventory manager or something else. We have another object in the scene that may need to change values in another script. You would use public variables for that. All right, so we've got a character movement controller script built. We've got our booster. Let's click back over to our controller. Our animator window, I'm going to pull that down so we can view that. Come on, guy. There we go. We're going to get rid of this, put this up there, so we can actually see the transitions that are happening. So here we go. So let's play. We've got our blends set up. We've got our parameters. You'll see, hey, we're in the idle animation. If I start walking, there we go. We've kicked into the walk. I'm pushing W on the key. I'm moving in the direction. You'll see the parameters changing down bottom as well. See my speed kicking up, my direction changing. If you use, WASD, S takes me to the left. You'll see I'm moving to the left. And obviously, I haven't attached the camera. So one cool thing here, Unity makes it pretty easy. We can go ahead and just take the camera and attach it to Lee. Now it's on Lee. It should follow Lee around, hopefully. I didn't test that prior to, but there we go. So we attach the camera to Lee. Now it's following Lee. I'm walking, I'm walking. If we click into the walk state, you'll see same deal. I'm walking. Which ones are triggered? You see the direction changing. And there you go. And that's pretty much it. Within less than an hour, we've animated a walk cycle to a character. Okay? So there's two ways. So since we have two, you guys want to see how to make them run? So go into another transition beyond that? All right, we'll jump farther. Nice. Okay, so we've got our walking transition. So there's two ways to achieve running. So this comes down to your game dynamics. How do you want your game to function? Do you want running to happen from just the control mechanism? If I'm on an Xbox controller and I push my left axis forward to the fullest extent, does that make me run, whereby the pressure controls whether I'm walking or running? Or do you want run to be a button? For this, do I need to click back to Unity? You missed that part,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Matt was saying he couldn't see.
Sorry, I was hoping it would switch by itself. Now I don't even know where it is. Where are you?
Probably in the browser window.
I am not a Mac guy, so forgive me.
Says the owner of the MacBook.
I use the Windows side boot camp, buddy. Where is it? There it is. So sorry, Matt. We will get you back up and rolling here.
Drop the ball there, Logan.
Yeah, Logan, drop the ball.
You're doing so well.
All right, so we're back in Unity. Just in case for the people that didn't see remotely, I started the game with all of our transitions there, and I have the animator in the bottom left, and I'm using WASD to walk around, and it's showing the transition from idle to walking. Same deal here. You can see what your parameter values are. Down in the bottom left, you can see what's happening. So I'm just walking around. All right. So we say, okay, we've got walking. Now we want running. Okay, there's two ways, like I said, to accomplish that. It's either a button press or a transition using the controls. So my speed jumps up above a certain amount. I want to transition into running. So the way I'm going to accomplish it for now is we're going to just build a new blend tree. Same way you built the walking. So we're going to call this running.
Can you copy the lecture? Yeah, you do that.
Yes, you can't copy a blend tree. Yes. So I've got this running, one that I built here. Again, it's foot.ik. We're going to jump in. We've got running. So it has those same parameters set for direction and speed that we set up. It's important to note that those are still there. So again, you're going to see this happen quite a bit. We're going to have three motion fields. We're again going from -1 to 1. Our middle point obviously being 0 between them. There we go. So on our blend tree, if we go back to our project, we've got more animations out there. Animations. There we go. We've got some run forward, and we've got run medium turn, run wide turn. You can choose which one you want to play with. There's more than enough animations out here to go home and have all kinds of fun. So we're going to start with our run forward. Obviously, he's running. There's one clip in here. Again, same thing. There could be multiple clips. We'll go back to our animator, blend tree, back to the animation, grab our run animation. Obviously, that's the middle state. We're not turning. We have no direction influences yet. We'll grab the run right medium and the run left. So there we go. So we've got that blend tree set up. We'll head back to our animator. Move it into space where I can see. This is my running. So again, the influence here is not direction. It's obviously speed. I'm sorry, it is direction because we're going left and right. So starting that up, you'll see we've got Lee hanging out there running. He's running kind of weirdly to the right. Runs kind of weirdly to the left. There we go. Now, these are already cleaned up. Oftentimes you'll find there's a lot of tweaking when you're out there actually building these animations yourself that you're going to have to do when you bring these in. We obviously don't have the time to do that right now. So okay, so again, what are we going to want to do? We're going to want to transition from walking into running. You're not going to go from idle to just instantly running at a fast speed, so you wouldn't transition there. So we'll make a transition to running, and you'll see it's populating it there. We're making a transition from running to walking. Okay, great. We've got a transition. But what makes that happen? As I said, we're going to do it using a button. We don't have any input going into our animation for this button. So we're going to add a new parameter. We're going to use a bool. I think that's how I coded it. Run. And we're going to say, I'm going to run when run is true. I'm going to not run when run is false. Good?
Should you put a running into idle as well, in case they stop?
No, because your natural animation is going to go from running to a slow walking to an idle. I guess you could if you wanted them just to abruptly stop, but it wouldn't look like a clean animation. There are other animations that I may have included in the package or I may not have included where they're coming to a slower stop. So you could build that in, or you could just slow down your speed or your velocity on your
I was
character,
going to say, what would
and it
happen
will
if
appear.
you're running and then you just stopped, but you kept holding down the run key? Wouldn't it just keep running then?
Well, remember our walking is any time that our velocity is greater than 0.1. So we're always in that walking animation until we hit that 0. So I guess if you just totally stopped touching anything, you would essentially hit idle.
But what happens if you stop touching anything except that run button? Because then run would still be true, so it would never get out of that.
Well, that's
Run
what your code is going to have to make sure that you don't do.
Can you put another condition on there so when running, the run button is
and your
false
speed.
and your speed is...
You absolutely can. You can definitely do that. So you can go here, you go down to your parameters, you can add another one. So we can say, and where speed is greater than 0.1. No harm, no foul. We can go here, add a new parameter input, say when our speed is obviously less than 0.1. So now we're making speed also a constraint. Yeah. So I mean, it all goes to your programming, how clean you want it to be. So how do we make this input happen for run? So in my little handy dandy script, get back to that guy by looking at Lee. So I had actually I'm using speed as I didn't add an extra button. So let's get back over. Let me get the Unity meetup over there as well. It's going to be a pain in my butt. I need to figure out how to make this automatically
What
happen.
if you just do like instead of mirroring screens, you have like an extended desktop? That way you can just drag the window up and down.
That's why you're the guy, Logan. That's why you're the guy.
You probably do that from like your Mac settings.
I know, but I don't want to screw with it right now. We're on the home stretch. Gosh. All right, so get auto develop. I wired this up. Can you see it on yours yet? There we go. Welcome, Google. So I wired this up as a joystick button. Again, I was at home playing around with an Xbox controller. So I have this a joystick button. So we're going to want to make a different input. So I can say or, and let me go back. This is not Visual Studio, so bear with me. I don't have that on the Mac side. Come on, Mac. All right, we say or the input dot get key, and we'll. Why am I getting no completions? Really? Come on.
Now we see what happens when a .NET developer can't hit tab.
Oh, we're gonna hit tab. Where is it? Why must you hate me so?
Let's be just live here for a second.
What is going on? Come on, IntelliSense.
Yeah, sometimes mine gives up on you to restart.
Really? Good Lord.
Gives up on you.
Yeah. It does.
You're a lost cause.
Yeah.
I'm done here.
Gives up.
So this was supposed to be easy.
Let's see how you code now.
Well, I need to know what the key code reference is. All right. I'm going to make it left shift, and it's in here somewhere. There it is. And I bet it's going to be called key code left shift. Man, I would have never guessed that
Could have
one.
been L shift, left S. There are a million things it could have been.
All right. So the way that I'm using, or I've written this code, is that we're doing it based on speed to transition into the running animation. So I've just added that when I hit the left key, the left shift key, it's going to make me start running. So we're going to go ahead and save this and click back over to our Unity and also our Hangout. And we're going to go back to our animator because I changed the parameter incorrectly. So we're not using run as a Boolean, which would be a parameter we send in whether we want to run or not. We're actually using just speed. So we've already got speed there. So in our code, basically, we need to change our transition to say we're walking, and I think I put the, get rid of that old parameter. It didn't clean that up very well. We'll say when our speed is greater than 6, I think I put the boost at 8. So that should make us run. And we want to say when it's less than 6. And get rid of the dead stuff that Unity did not clean up. Come on. Really? All right. This transition is hosed, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of it and make it again. Okay, it won't let me delete it either. Clearly there's a delete key on Mac.
What if you pick a variable under conditions there?
Now let's try to get rid of it. Nope. All right, we broke it. It won't even let me delete the other. Does not like that I removed a parameter while it had attachments. Somebody get the bug sheet. There we go. Let's do it that way. All right, no harm, no foul. We'll just make a new transition. Everyone knows what this should be already. Speed less than 6. All right, so we're already set up. Our control scheme knows what we're doing. We've set the parameters that when my speed rises above 6, that we're going to start running. So we're going to start our animation again, or our scene again. We're walking forward. I'm hitting the shift key, and now I'm running. Now I'm walking. Now I'm running. Good. Hitting the shift key by itself, nothing happens because I'm not in a walk state. Cool? Helpful? Good stuff? Animation is super easy in Unity using Mecanim if you have clean animations and all the other stuff to go with it. It's all the work that goes beforehand when you're in Maya and you're rigging and you're doing everything else.
So you basically just pulled out like a finished turkey, and you're like,
Yeah.
and it's that easy.
And it's that good. We shift away.
We
I've
just have
opened
one right here.
the other oven. So that's Unity in a running transition. I can show you guys, how to handle death and everything else, death animations. You can trigger animations. One last thing via your scripts. So I'll change over to my handy dandy Google Hangouts and switch this back to scripting. Using obviously animator dot give me no IntelliSense again. Welcome, Jeremy. I'm not getting IntelliSense. So you can do it via play animation. You can trigger it via button press or anything else. When you do that, you need to know what your transition time is and your clips are. If you have them set, you're all well and ready to go. if you have a combined clip, you need to know what your start and your end times are and your transition times. So that's that. Let me. Any questions? I hope this was pretty informative for people. Good?
Do you know about using Blender instead of Maya for?
Blender. So Jeremy is a developer here as well. He uses Blender. He doesn't want to hear my opinions on Blender, but he uses it quite a bit. So can you speak to Blender at all?
Oh, what's the question?
Using Blender to create the model and rigging and everything for these animations.
I've not done
Oh, great.
rigging,
That's on our Hangout now.
with Blender or anything else for that matter, but
The
I
message
saw
about
a tutorial
Jeremy's phone.
on rigging. In fact, they have like a preset skeleton, like human skeleton rig that you can automatically, and you set like a mirroring modifier on it. So as soon as you move the arms over here, it's going to move this side the same way, and the legs and all that stuff. But I love Blender. I mean, like he said,
I was trained in Maya, so that's what I use.
Obviously anybody sees something that costs money and something that's free, they're going to say the one that costs money is better. But
The $3,000 version has to be better.
that's what you say.
Jason?
So yeah, I mean, you can do, thanks Jay. You can do rigging in it. There's a good tutorial on YouTube that I saw with rigging. As far as bringing Blender assets and all that, the assets are just as easy with anything else to bring in, but it's, I don't know, you guys probably know more about Unity than I do.
If you can build FBX animations and everything else, you can bring it in. So that's the common format that it's going to use.
Models themselves are easy to pull in. It's the lighting that's hard to reproduce in Unity. Photorealistic rendering.
So I'm going to share just a few of my links that I use so it's captured. So free motion capture data.
Did you switch the?
I did. This is, obviously you want some FBXs. If you go BVH, you're going to have to build all that stuff in using Motion Builder or something like that to translate the points and build all that skeleton data. My advice is just go with an FBX because someone's already taken the liberty of cleaning that stuff up for you. Another one of the ones that I use is Carnegie Mellon University. This has everything you could possibly dream of. The problem with this is you're going to take an AMC file and you're going to have to build that, put it all together. It'll take you about, if it's your first time, probably about an hour to get it right because the skeletons aren't all clean. But you'll see, if we can view one here.
You used to do that in Maya.
I do it in Maya, and it works really well in Maya. So obviously I didn't want to see the guy actually walking. I want to see the motion capture data. So sorry, I clicked the wrong one. So hopefully this is it. There you go. So you can preview the skeleton and you'll see it's the same makeup. You can pull these in, just create your file, and you're ready to roll. So this has everything you could dream of. There is an offline one that you can download. I'm not sure who's hosting that one. But that's a way to get you there if you don't have a person with little balls doing mocap data for you at home. This is a quick way to do it. If you have a Connect, you can get your mocap data yourself. If you want to do something out of the ordinary, please keep it PG rated if you're going to show me. But you can do that at home, mocap yourself if you want to. For my 3D models, I head out to, I mentioned earlier, I use, hopefully this is my site. I don't think, yes, this is the site that I use. So if you're into video games, these are a bunch of low poly models and everything that are out there already. You'll see I obviously found Lee on this site and rigged him. I mean, there's Assassin's Creed, there's a lot of stuff. I pulled animals from here as well, so for the game that I'm building. There's pigs, there's architecture, there's vehicles.
Are people ripping these out like existing games, or are they just remaking them?
You have a mixture of both. You have people that are pulling complete maps, 3D models out of games like Grand Theft Auto and others, to people doing their own submissions. For me, I'm like, great. So Lee obviously was pulled from a game, from the game. And you'll see. I typically stick to FBXs because it's simpler for me to get in. So here's our model that we use tonight. He was an OBJ. I merely pulled the OBJ out, reattached all the textures, and exported as an FBX, and I was ready to go. So you'll see it's already ready for you to enjoy. So that's some of the sites that I use. Feel free to share anything that you find. I mean, this will get you most of the way there between the motion capture and characters.
Scroll back up. How much was that? That banner at the top there.
It's actually probably in here somewhere if you want to search it. Depends on what kind of game you're making, Jeremy. I don't judge. So that's it. That's it for my presentation. We can feel free to hang out and try a few things. I'm not kicking anyone out. Ask questions. I can show some other stuff or tell me what you want to see at a later date. Remember that I'm into 3D. I don't really know much about the 2D world. I will love to explore that with you guys if you want to. Again, don't make me the only presenter. We've got Mike Pateris that joined and hosted the last meetup. Clifford is actually on board now as a host as well. And like I said, any of you guys can show off whatever you have. Even if it's just your game and you want to talk about ideas or things you want to do. One of the things I would love to do is let's start with kind of a thought and to kind of engage everyone. Let's think about something cool that we can create together and work through, and that'll get everyone's hands dirty and in the pot and working in a team environment. I think everybody here brings a little bit of a skill set, whether it be programming, art, design, what have you. You know, let's start brainstorming what we can do. Cool. I don't care if it's multiple projects and we kind of align on different things, but let's keep it active. Let's make people want to be here and say, man, I wish I was at that meetup. They were doing some pretty cool stuff. So,
Do you guys have experience with what's it? Free.js?
I do not.
And you guys do
T3, you said?
Three.
Free
Like,
JS.
actually,
It's very minor.
JavaScript, Canvas, I think WebGL.
It'll pick whatever it needs to in the browser.
I saw there's a company that they make it so you can take a lot of stuff from Unity and basically just bring it into Free.js with very little rework. I think it'd be cool if you did something that you could throw out on the web.
Is that just for viewing models or actually?
It's for anything. I mean,
So this animation is doing this all in JavaScript?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
So definitely
that's-
cool, but remember you can export everything from Unity to a web player, so it will be accessible via the web. Correct.
You'd have to have that.
You'd have to install it, right?
I will admit, the first time I got prompted to install it, I was like, what is this? And I just closed the window. And I have it installed now because I know what it is.
I think a lot of people are going to
They've got
Yeah. But when the browser prompts you to install the Unity client, I'm like, what the hell is that?
look at some of the examples.
It's just weird how they have the mouse attached to viewing. Like I can't get it to actually go where I want it to.
I like where the camera's locked to.
It's like locked to their private. It says I move around.
As soon as you move the
I
mouse,
tried
zoom
not
in.
to.
Try the different materials. Materials on that down here.
Yep.
Normal map.
Very nice for web.
That's pretty cool.
You said the laptop's not very fast.
Very clean.
You know
This
what
is
browser
the-
support it has?
Everything besides IE.
Shaders.
I'm sure IE is
I'm
not
not even gonna
supported.
look it up.
It's the same
Yeah,
This is one's down below.
No, I mean it's very nice, very clean.
I didn't think IE did OpenGL, but I think they have a competing direct. Yeah.
So those connected remotely, I think that may just be Matt at this point. Did you have any questions, Matt? Anything you wanted to throw out there? I don't want to exclude you from the conversation.
No, I'm good.
Did you say no or
Sorry. I'm good. I don't have any questions.
Okay, cool, man. Well, I'm going to wrap up my presentation. I'm going to kill the Google Hangout, and we'll kind of continue here if people want to, and we'll work through whatever. We'll sample something. We'll look at something. Yes, but let me finish out my Google Hangout.